Let me tell you something that might surprise you. If a woman is liking your posts but ignoring your texts, it doesn't always mean what you think. From a woman's perspective, this behavior can mean six completely different things, and the reason behind it determines whether you still have a chance or whether you're wasting your time. I'm going to break down each one so you know exactly where you stand. Here's the truth from a woman's perspective. This mixed signal, liking posts but ignoring texts, is one of the most common patterns men ask me about, and you're not crazy for being confused by it. Social media engagement is passive. It's easy. It requires no emotional investment, no vulnerability, no real commitment. But texting, that's active communication. That requires thought, energy, and intention. So when a woman gives you one but not the other, it's telling you something specific about where her head is at. The problem is most men jump to conclusions without understanding the full picture. That's why I'm breaking this down into 6 different scenarios. Each one has different signs, different psychology, and different outcomes. By the end of this, you'll have a framework to identify exactly which scenario you're dealing with and what your next move should be. Let's start with the most common reason this happens. 1. She's keeping you in the comfort zone. Here's what this looks like. Liking a post takes 1 second. It's low effort, low risk, and requires zero emotional vulnerability. She can scroll through her feed, tap the heart, and move on without having to think about what to say to you or how she feels about you. It's engagement without investment. Texting you back, that's different. That requires her to actively think about you, choose her words, consider the conversation direction, and engage emotionally. It's higher effort and higher risk because every message reveals something about her interest level. So when a woman gives you passive engagement but avoids active communication, she's often keeping you at arm's length on purpose. She wants to maintain some connection with you. She wants you to know she's still aware of you, but she doesn't want to invest the emotional energy that real conversation requires. Why does this happen? A few reasons. Maybe she's unsure about how she feels. Maybe she likes the attention you give her, but isn't ready to reciprocate it. Maybe she's keeping her options open and you're one of several guys she's doing this with. Or maybe she enjoys the validation of knowing you're interested without having to commit to anything real. Here's what you need to watch for. If she's consistently liking your posts, stories, or updates, but her text replies are short, delayed, or non-existent, that's the pattern. If she engages with your content more than she engages with you directly, that's a sign. If weeks go by like this without any meaningful conversation initiated from her side, you're in the comfort zone. What does this mean for your chances? Honestly, not great unless something changes. She's comfortable with the current dynamic, which means she's not feeling any urgency or desire to move things forward. So here's your move. Mirror her investment. If she's giving you low-effort engagement, don't give her high-effort attention. Stop initiating deep conversations. Stop being readily available. Match her energy and see if that shift creates any change in her behavior. If she doesn't notice or doesn't care, you have your answer. But that's not the only reason this happens. Sometimes it's actually the opposite. 2. She's testing your reaction. This is where it gets more intentional. Some women will like your posts while ignoring your texts specifically to see how you respond. It's a silent test. She's dropping breadcrumbs of attention to gauge whether you'll stay composed or whether you'll start chasing harder. She's watching if you'll react desperately to the mixed signals or if you'll maintain your frame. A friend of mine admitted she did this with a guy she was interested in. She told me, "I liked a few of his posts in a row, but left his texts on read for 2 days. I wanted to see if he'd double text, if he'd get needy, or if he'd stay cool." She wasn't being cruel. She was evaluating his emotional strength. And here's what she said. The guys who passed that test became way more attractive to me. The ones who failed, I lost interest immediately. Here's what you don't realize. When a woman does this, she's not testing whether you like her. She already knows that. She's testing whether you're confident enough not to need constant validation from her. She's looking for self-control, for a man who doesn't crumble the moment she pulls back slightly. That composure is what separates high-value men from the rest in her mind. So how do you tell if this is what's happening? The timing and pattern matter. If she liked your post right around the time she ignored your text, that's deliberate. If this behavior is new and seems calculated, she's probably testing. If you've noticed her watching your stories or checking your activity while staying silent in DMs, she's keeping tabs on your reaction. Here's how you pass this test. Don't acknowledge the game. Don't ask why she's liking your posts but not replying. Don't change your texting behavior to try to get her attention. Stay consistent, stay grounded, and let her come to you when she's ready. The moment you chase or call out the inconsistency, you fail. And if she never steps up after you hold your ground, then the test revealed she wasn't that interested to begin with, and you just saved yourself time. Now here's where it gets interesting, because sometimes this pattern has nothing to do with games at all. 3. She's genuinely busy but still curious about you. This one is less strategic and more circumstantial. The reality is that social media scrolling is passive. She can like your post while waiting in line, during a work break, or right before bed without thinking much about it. It takes no mental energy. But texting you back, that requires her full attention. She has to actively engage in a conversation, think about what to say, and be present mentally. And sometimes, she just doesn't have the bandwidth for that. Imagine she's in the middle of a stressful week. Work is overwhelming, personal life is chaotic, and she's mentally exhausted. Scrolling through social media becomes a mindless escape. She sees your post, smiles, taps like, and keeps scrolling. It's not that she doesn't think about you. It's that sitting down to have a real conversation with you feels like too much pressure in that moment. Here's the difference between this scenario and the others. When she finally does reply, the quality of her response matters. If she's genuinely interested but just busy, her replies, when they come, will be thoughtful. She'll apologize for the delay. She'll engage with what you said. She won't leave you on one-word answers or treat you like an afterthought. So how long should this pattern last? If it's truly about being busy, it shouldn't drag on for weeks. A few days, maybe a week, but not indefinitely. Life gets hectic, but if someone is genuinely interested, they find time eventually. If this behavior continues beyond a reasonable time frame without any meaningful conversation, then it's not about being busy anymore. Here's what you do. Give her space. Don't pressure her with multiple messages or complaints about her lack of response. Stay visible in her world through your own posts and activity, but let her come to you when she's ready. If her interest is real, she'll reach out when things calm down. But here's the reality check. If she never does, or if weeks pass without any shift, then she wasn't as interested as you hoped. And that's information you needed. But here's something most men don't realize. Sometimes the reason is more painful than just being busy. 4. She's already moved on emotionally, but she doesn't want to feel like the bad guy. Here's the brutal truth. Sometimes a woman will keep liking your posts because it makes her feel less guilty about ignoring your messages. In her mind, she's not completely cutting you off. She's still acknowledging your existence, still giving you some form of attention, so she can tell herself she's not being cruel. But the reality, she's not interested anymore. She's checked out emotionally, and the social media engagement is just a way to soften the blow for herself, not for you. This happens more than you'd think. A woman starts losing interest, but instead of being direct about it, she pulls back slowly. She stops replying to your texts with any real depth. She cancels plans. She becomes distant. But she'll still double tap your photo because it takes zero effort and helps her avoid the uncomfortable conversation where she has to tell you she's done. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes. She doesn't want to be the villain in your story. She doesn't want you to think she's heartless or that she led you on. So she maintains this minimal level of interaction to convince herself, and maybe you, that she's still somewhat present. But ask yourself this: if she actually cared, would she be putting in this little effort? Would weeks go by without a real conversation if you mattered to her? The signs are pretty clear. If she's been liking your posts consistently but hasn't initiated a meaningful conversation in weeks, that's a red flag. If her text replies, when they come, are one or two words with no follow-up questions, that's another one. If she never makes plans, never asks about your life, and only engages with you on the most surface level possible, she's moved on. She just hasn't said it out loud yet. Here's what you need to do. Respect yourself enough to recognize the pattern and stop waiting for someone who's already gone. Stop giving your attention and energy to someone who's only giving you scraps. If she wanted to be in your life in a real way, she would be. The lack of effort is your answer. Now, there's a similar but slightly different reason that's just as frustrating. 5. She's keeping you as a backup option. This one is more intentional than the last. Some women will maintain a social media presence with multiple guys specifically to keep their options open. You're not the priority, but you're not completely off the radar either. She's interested enough to keep you in her orbit, but not interested enough to actually invest in you. And the social media engagement, that's her way of keeping you warm without committing to anything real. Here's what women talk about with friends. There's this concept of keeping guys in rotation. Not everyone does it, but the ones who do are strategic about it. They'll engage just enough to keep you thinking there might be a chance, just enough to keep you around, but never enough to actually move things forward. You become a source of attention and validation whenever she wants it, without her having to give you anything substantial in return. I'll be honest with you. I've seen women admit this openly. One friend told me, "I like his posts because I want him to know I still exist, but I'm not trying to date him. He's just nice to have around when I'm bored or need attention." That's the mindset. You're convenient. You're available. But you're not the one she's excited about. Here's how you know if this is your situation. She never initiates real plans. She responds when you reach out, but she never reaches out first. Her replies are friendly but surface level, never deep or meaningful. She's comfortable taking your attention, but she doesn't reciprocate with effort. Months can pass like this without any real progression, and she's perfectly fine with it. Here's the hard truth. If you stay in this position, you're not building attraction. You're killing it. The more you accept being an option, the less valuable you become in her eyes. She knows she can get your attention whenever she wants it, so there's no urgency, no desire, no chase. You've made yourself too available for someone who's barely present. So what do? You walk away. You stop engaging. You stop giving her the validation she's getting from you without earning it. If she notices and actually steps up, great. If she doesn't, you just freed yourself from wasting time on someone who wasn't serious about you. Finally, there's one more reason that actually works in your favor. 6. She's nervous and genuinely afraid of saying the wrong thing because she actually likes you. This is the scenario most men don't expect. Sometimes, when a woman likes you enough, texting becomes high stakes for her. She overthinks every message. She worries about sounding too eager, too boring, or too awkward. So instead of risking a bad text, she stays quiet. But liking your posts, that's safe. It keeps her on your radar without the pressure of having to say the perfect thing. Here's what most men don't realize. High interest can create anxiety, not confidence. When a woman really cares about your opinion of her, every text feels like a test she's scared to fail. She'll type something out, delete it, retype it, and then just not send it at all because she's convinced it sounds stupid. Meanwhile, she's liking your posts because it's a way to stay connected without the risk of embarrassing herself. I'll be honest. I've been there. There was a guy I liked, and every time I tried to text him back, I'd panic. What if I came across too strong? What if I sounded uninterested? What if he thought I was boring? So I'd see his message, want to reply, but end up liking his Instagram story instead, because at least that didn't require me to be clever or interesting. It felt safer. So how do you tell if this is what's happening? Look at how she acts when you do interact. Is she a little awkward or nervous around you? Does she seem genuinely engaged when you talk, even if she's not texting much? Does she respond positively when you do reach out, even if it takes her time? If she lights up when she sees you or seems invested in the conversation when it happens, but struggles to initiate or maintain texting, this might be it. Here's what you do. Make it easy for her. Ask simple, low-pressure questions that don't require her to perform. Keep your texts light and casual, so she doesn't feel like every response has to be perfect. Give her opportunities to engage without the weight of high expectations. And if she's showing interest in person or through other signals, take the lead and make a direct but casual move. She's probably waiting for you to do that. So now that you understand all 6 reasons, here's how you figure out which one applies to your situation. First, look at the timeline. How long has this pattern been happening? If it's been days or a week, lean toward reasons 3 or 6. Genuine busyness or nervousness. If it's been weeks or months with no meaningful conversation, you're probably dealing with reasons 1, 4, or 5. Comfort zone. Moved on. Or backup option. Second, assess the quality of her engagement when it does happen. Does she apologize for delays and engage thoughtfully? That points toward 3 or 6. Are her replies one word, surface level, or non-existent? That's 1, 4, or 5. Response quality tells you everything about her actual interest level. Third, check for consistency across different contexts. Is she awkward or engaged when you see her in person? That suggests 6. Does she never initiate plans, never reach out first, never move things forward? That's 1 or 5. Watch her behavior beyond just social media. Here's the key question. If you mirror her energy and pull back slightly, does she notice? Does she reach out? Does she step up? If yes, it might be 2 or 6. She was testing you or waiting for you to take the lead. If she doesn't react at all, it's likely 1, 4, or 5. She's comfortable with the distance or already gone. But here's the principle that matters most. No matter which scenario it is, your self-respect comes first. Don't wait around indefinitely for someone who's not showing up for you. Here's what you need to remember about all of this. Here's the core principle you need to take from this. Your attention should always mirror her investment. Social media likes without real conversation mean nothing. Don't give your energy to passive engagement when what you deserve is active effort. The mistake most men make is overanalyzing these patterns instead of acting on what's already clear. You don't need to decode every like and every story view. If someone wants to be in your life in a meaningful way, they'll show up. If they're not showing up, you already have your answer. Sometimes the scenario doesn't even matter. Whether she's busy, nervous, testing you, or keeping you as a backup, the result is the same. You're not getting the respect and effort you deserve. And no amount of waiting or hoping changes that unless she decides to step up. So be the man who values himself enough to recognize the difference between genuine interest and breadcrumbs. Don't chase attention that costs you your self-respect. If she's really interested, your presence and your standards will pull her in. If she's not, you'll save yourself time by walking away with your dignity intact. I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced this exact pattern? A woman liking your posts, but ignoring your texts. How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments. I'll be reading and replying because these conversations matter. Real growth starts with understanding the truth. Your self-respect isn't negotiable. That's how you win.